pretty congested now. Zone hardships down to the south. So that means Lit, they're going to be in a great position. I believe they've got a compound just next to Quarry, just out to the west of Quarry. They've got a solid compound there, obviously XBL or XB Blood Legion in a pretty good spot as well. Will they are, if the zone continues to go south, it's going to make it very difficult for those teams that are coming in from the north to continue to push on through, because I'd say they'll just look to hold down that compound.
Yeah, I think that 7C actually struck quite lucky with this zone. Potentially had to rotate quite far north, but now the zone goes back into their hands, so they'll be gifted with a 3-1 for now in the next phase. But also not so lucky here when it comes to teams rotating in is from that northern side. And when we think of that congestion, we questioned also the possibility of also a hard shift. And the likes of actually TJB, who you just mentioned, being quite a tricky position, now having to potentially rotate out of their own compound. You can also see more of those teams around them, the likes of ONG moving their, or DKG, sorry, moving their way through in now trying to find a position themselves. And it is these early rotations, I would argue, are the ones that will work out more successfully here, Seki. I would argue that for the likes of these earlier rotations, finding that position on the hills, finding that high ground, going to be advantageous when it comes to the likes of those late rotators, the likes of TJB, FaZe Clan, moving in later on, and actually as a result getting caught out by these teams in these positions on the surprise stack.
Yeah, so obviously Demigod Wham getting caught out and catching a couple of bullets at the moment as they do try to essentially pull away from all the teams that were the centre zone on the last phase of the match. I think Demigod moving early on was definitely a smart move, because you were going to have so many teams coming in behind those guys. If they can get around the teams that were already just out to the west of Quarry, I think they'll be looking pretty good in late stages. I think KG now being spotted out by XBL Blood, managing to get a couple of shots on. Does look like Beloved's currently down as well at the moment for DKG. So it's definitely starting to heat up. DRS Nima is currently down at the moment. I'll be looking to get that revive. We do have Stalwart that's been putting the pressure on from the south. So Stalwart, they'll be loving this zone. They're coming in on that southern side, and life's been pretty easy for them so far, but we will have BTR that'll be reasonably close by as well. I think that might come into the mix very soon. So DRS now looking to actually change up positions and try and get into zone at the moment. They're possibly going to be gate kept and running into a couple of teams as they do actually push in. We do have DKG in that general area, but looks like they're going to be pretty patient and try and get some kills out on the outside of the next phase of the match.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, when you look at the likes of DRS here, rotating around, DRS, they are actually on the edge of the zone. They've got to rotate in, but look who's ahead of them. You still got, as you mentioned, Starwell, you've still got more teams up in front. So it is going to be quite tricky. They do have, for now, a position on the edge of the zone. However, I do think that going into the next phase, they do need to look at how they can possibly rotate as this zone will shift once again here, but centralized is just around Quarry. And this is what we talked about, the opportunity of these teams coming in around Quarry itself. So like Blood Legion, now also even those coming in for the north side like Demigod, also on that hillside, going to be able to potentially gatekeep a lot of those teams that we said late rotations in, phase all of these teams on the northern side. And I think for Demigod, we mentioned them as one of these wildcard teams can now look to prove themselves when they have an opportunity inside the zone to pick up plethora of kills of these teams rotating in below them.
It looks like TGB at the moment is actually having a little bit of trouble with the third parties, obviously trying to get out of that position they were in. But BTR obviously going up against Stalwart as well. They'll be looking to gatekeep there, but Infinity now on the move, and looks like they are possibly about to run into a little bit of trouble as they push up towards Stalwart. You've got someone that is ever so close, just camping it out here. They have been spotted. The push now comes in. It is going to be Giles, and from a DRS, unfortunately, does get caught out. Will be thirsted straight up by Infinity. Infinity already up to 7 kills so far, so definitely showing that they are going to be an aggressive team, and they're definitely going to be a team to contend with.
indeed, Infinity, though, they are getting shot up. They do find some relief inside the car for now. Across the road, they go in inside the rocks of cover. They will stay, and it will be Infinity still having to move up, though, because, look, they are outside the zone. They've still got another team to fight, and that is, of course, Nevertheless and DKG up in front of them. DKG, they have the position, though, in their own hands. They have the opportunity to try gatekeep away Infinity. Despite their kills, they might find themselves falling out early on as well. These teams on the south side still looking to find their way in the likes of RSG, also now going to have their own potential fight up against their own opponents later on. JM Yellow as well, just ahead of them. And actually JM Yellow, a great opportunity to actually take advantage of, I would argue, RSG, where they are trying to rotate on the low hill, but looking for a wide rotation in across the western side, but it's just not going to be given to them if JM Yellow can look to gatekeep them away in the rotation.
Well, it doesn't look like JM Yellow, they are going to continue to push forward, so RSG might get a free entry into zone, but Infinity, they're showing they've been pretty confident at the moment as they have pushed another team, but it looks like it could be fairly disastrous here. There we go, they're eliminated. They go out in the 13th position as DKG now going down to a third party as well. We've got...
That is...
So it's DRS eliminated 14th, yeah.
Yeah, as we said, DRS, so going for that wide rotation just doesn't quite happen out for them when you do find yourself late rotating in against the low ground of high ground teams in VTR as well. They find themselves in their own tricky position coming out of quarry, and they put themselves in really what is a death position for them. Later on, though, just in front of them, Star Wars still fighting. That's a brilliant grenade, though, starting off, and this is going to really hurt Star Wars here. That one grenade coming through for Luxy, going to actually guarantee BTR the time now to move forward, and Luxy the time to actually try to make those 1v happens, because the rest of these Star Wars members are actually stuck inside the quarry itself, and they can't help in this fight.
I guess they've got a plus side on that they're in the quarry at the moment. Considering how much this zone has gone into quarry, it's going to be probably about 30% of that quarry area, which is going to be insane. But we've got XP Blood at the moment looking to go at it again. But RSG is still trying to come in from that southern side, and I think that zone has hard shifted a long way from these guys. They've got a lot of teams in front. They are going to have to push through. I think Lit's going to still be in a great position as well. But RSG, they are going for a big push now onto Join Me Yellow. Looks like Small Boy is currently down at the moment. Batman looking to do the Overwatch at the moment as Kimber pushes down the hillside as well. So not really a uniform push coming out from these guys. It was sort of a 2x2. I sort of really feel like it probably would have benefited a little bit more by the 3x1, but Small Boy, he's still alive and kicking. They might be able to get a revive, but that zone is closing very fast, so they're going to have to get it moving pretty quickly.
RSG though is still fighting the zone, and there's phase 5 getting caught inside, still up against JM Yellow nevertheless, but they're the ones that gatekeep JM Yellow. They find a knock, they can't find a revive, and the players are taken down on the health bar. I think it would have made way more sense for DRS, or sorry, I should say RSG here, to just rotate all the way down into the zone, but now they have lost the opportunity. Now they have to try contend with the blue. They're going to potentially get called out by these teams overlooking them. Nevertheless, you do have even Lit now. They're also looking over them, looking for those extra picks.
So, Lit, to be honest, from this position, I'm surprised they haven't actually managed to capitalise and get a few more kills with that compound. Obviously, they are going to have to move now, and they're going to have to push uphill, so it is definitely going to be an uphill battle for these guys. We do have P and crew, they're pushing in from the north. I'm loving their rotation at the moment. They are coming in very late. As long as Sandesh can actually get in there, I think they're going to be able to move into this next phase of the match pretty solidly. We do have phase, though, that they'll be looking to hold them back at the moment. Unfortunately, Sandesh does end up going down to play zone, and Killer, he's in a lot of trouble. He's pinned down by Ziv from Lit, and he's patiently waiting.
Beautiful position there from Ziv, can actually take out the rest of this entire team, and unfortunately for him, Killer really has nowhere to move, has nowhere to go in that blue zone as well. Will come up first, coming through, see the fire coming out, and you definitely know there's someone down in that house now. Killer may have to wait, just may have to go for the healing strategy, because in this zone is still centralized over towards quarry, and you can see when you start to go out of compounds, when you start to go into the open, it's way too tight with all of these teams inside, and one of those teams, Blood Legion, sneaking their way in with one of the only few compounds inside. They have the chance, Blood, to actually look for their own kills, look around these exits and entrances around quarry itself, as BTR, they exit out of that quarry, and Eston gets smacked.
they're in a very tough spot as they're going to have to essentially push up the top onto the road there, and you got a lot of focus of fire happening in their direction. XP Blood looking extremely solid on this one with that compound. It's really going to depend on whether that zone goes to the north or the south as to who's got the significant advantage. It's going to be FaZe or XP Blood. Does look like Elite is really struggling to get in as well. They haven't been able to move from a compound, and it does look like XP Blood, they are going to need to move on this one. I think they might be so just outside of zone, so they are going to need to move from that hard cover of that building. You see Dominic's trying to get some higher shots onto TJB. As they've pushed around to the low side, they're going to be taking the quarry area on this one. They're going to be right down below, so I think really if they can't get out of that position, it's going to be very tough, and they'll be looking to do a heal off on that one. So we're down at
Blood, David, do you have position of his own though? He moves away from them. And then Blood, look at where that zone goes to. It's like he goes away from them, so now they have to move. But it's actually look above them. The likes of FaZe Clan who have held off all this time, patiently waiting, not going for the fight. Now is the time to pick up the kills. The high ground, the zone goes their way.
It's really just going to be fish in a barrel here. Unless XBL can get right up against that rock face there. But I guess the real worry is TJP going to be able to get up that quarry face and actually start to pummel at the base of the cliff there? That could put XBL in a really vulnerable position. But big shots coming out from above. It does look like XP Blood. They're going to try and just play this rock face, but they are getting spotted out. They're in a lot of trouble now as Tony K puts the pressure on. They do manage to find a little dip in the cliff there, and they'll be able to chill it for the other moment, see where this next phase goes. It does look like it's actually sort of going back down towards these guys. The three teams now remain. We're going to have TJP. It's going to be FaZe and obviously XPL Blood. So let's say that FaZe. Got a couple that's going to be right inside zone. Will they be forced off this rock face? It does look like that's a potential possibility here.
TJB, they are praying that this zone stays with them, but like as we said for FaZe Clan, though, they're the ones in control. However, this zone goes away. That's what these teams are praying for FaZe to get stranded on the top of that cliff side, and that's what Blood Legion are also hoping for. They've made that successful rotation on the edge of the rock. They're able to survive, and actually, it's TJB who looked the worst off out of these three teams.
And there we go. So TJB now starting to really come into play, but they do get set back down by FaZe from above. MR5, I believe, putting in a massive amount of work on the TJB. They're now down to just one. It's going to be Longs looking to get that revive. They don't have a lot of time, though. Do they have that position inside the zone? It looks like FaZe, they are going to go for the hunt now, and they're going to take the dub for game number 1 of the Ultimate Warior Showdown. And they're going to do it all by positioning in this one.
Indeed, it will be FaZe. They managed to find a way down the cliffside. They managed to find the kills onto the help of TJB from Blood. They managed to find Blood afterwards, who went out in third position, weren't able to hold off there, Seki. And as a result, actually, FaZe, they come out stronger when it comes to the first game of Sandhog. Looking forward to what they can definitely bring FaZe now moving into the rest of the tournament. I think their patience in this first game was something that we hadn't seen from them before, and something that definitely now changing into a different playstyle, working out for them and not going for the super aggressive playstyle and the tendency that could have got them killed, like Infinity around them, like the rest of those teams of Star Wars as well, around that center circle initially, who then, yes, got kills early on, but also went out earlier before them.
Yeah, I think the strat really was just a head down bum up. They weren't looking to take the easy route. They obviously dropped at boot camp to start with, and they were very proactive as the zone shifts came. As soon as they come out, they basically started to head towards that center zone. I feel they obviously were a little bit slow where they had all the teams to the south, which was obviously a smart move there, because it was getting very, very congested around them. So they were able to pick their right times to push on down and make their move and secure that win.
nevertheless so. And when we move through over to thinking about FaZe and thinking about also the other teams here as well, and the likes of also TJB to survive. When it comes to TJB, he also had a tricky position. We mentioned them earlier on, right? When he had that initial center position in his zone, he had the compound, and we wanted them to be very careful in how they decided to choose their route out of that. They went for, of course, the car rotation down towards the quarry, then they dipped into the quarry. Big risk, I think, that could have not worked had actually the side of Bigatron being able to survive a little bit longer. Because if Bigatron can get over that road, they can start to pin down TJB, and it starts to look like a different story where Bigatron, they're the ones surviving to possibly that second place. However, also you do have to look at that third party, which was nevertheless Blood. And yes, Blood fall down in third, but even though that TJB were also able to surpass them, it was Blood that allowed TJB to survive in that sense because they were the ones that helped to decimate down those Bigatron members.
Yeah, I guess it's a really, really big risk versus reward if you can hold down that quarry position. It's such a tough spot to be able to hold. And I guess that shows the caliber of the team to be able to choose that sort of positioning and be able to play it out and obviously get to the final stages of the match. It's they're definitely really going to be one to watch as we progress through this tournament.
Yeah, of course, it is only first day, it's first game, so it's early start for these teams. You can't pin down just purely off one game what these teams are going to be able to playing like and what their performance will look like by the end of the tournament, but it definitely is an indicator that some of these favourites that we were looking at, like TJB, like FaZe, were able to show up. But I think also some of the other favourites that didn't show up that we expected, yes, also Infinity, but even to an extent at DK Gaming, one of the other representatives from the Chinese region coming out of the PL as well, they weren't able to find that success that their brothers in arms were able to find.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. Yeah. But so who else we had? We had XP Blood Legion. Yeah, they were absolutely loving that position they had in directly right next to Quarry for that. Now, able to play it out. I guess it come down to a little bit of luck on their side. It's going to be interesting to see how well they do play out. Was that one more so a luck sort of positioning, or are they able to continue to predict the zones, I guess, and get themselves into those sort of positions?
For me, I would argue that it comes down to actually not luck in certain scenarios. Yes, you think about the likes of Demigod, they potentially had a really nice position over to the north of the zone. They had potentially a position to get to the top. But as we do look for the highlights, we can see exactly it was about the positioning of these teams, which is what actually allowed them to find success overall in this game and what was able to actually find that first, second, third place, the likes of TJB, Blood Legion, and also FaZe Clan were able to find. And for Blood Legion, actually, specifically, they had one of the harder rotations out of everyone because Blood, they were the team that started out on the edge of zone. Yes, they had a first kill, they had the first blood as well, but also they had a long ways to go. And coming down from that northern side, it definitely wasn't fairly tricky for them to do. However, I liked that they played it on the edge of them. They didn't go to that more central position, so when it came to getting out of a tricky spot, they were able to navigate around the edge of the zone. They tanked the blue zone a little bit around that mid-game stage to get there. However, when you tank a little bit, you get a big reward like that third place. You get those kills in the late game. It's very much worth it.
So match MVP is going to be Venturus from FaZe. So he's obviously got 4 kills on this one. Sorry, you got 3 on this one. My apologies, just getting that right. We've got some reasonably high damage as well, considering it is Sandhawk. On Saturday, no, it's actually relatively low for him. But right, let's go into the head-to-head.
Definitely FaZe Venturus match MVP, but a head-to-head here, 3 to 4 kills. Zoxy going to be the one that comes out on top and slightly higher damage overall. Zoxy definitely one of the examples there, Bigatron getting stuck down in a bog of that quarry compound itself. They went down very early on into the quarry itself. and then they struggled. Yes, they were able to take out likes of Star Wars, but then they struggled to find a position because that fight took so long to then get future position in the game, to get future compounds like that of Blood Legion were able to control for safety. So Zuxi definitely doing good work, but definitely, as we say, Bigatron, they do need to be very careful about where they go into, because that could have ended up a lot worse for them. They could have actually found themselves surrounded by multiple teams, and then Bigatron, they get sliced and diced, and they lose players one by one.
We're heading to the kill and damage chart. It does look like BTR, they really did come in with the vengeance on this one. They had a point to prove, and they put a lot of pressure on a lot of teams, but unfortunately they just weren't able to rotate out of that quarry position. I guess as soon as that zone hard shifted to the northern side, it was pretty much going to be disastrous for that one. It was a 50-50, a flip of the coin that made life very difficult for those guys. So who else do you think is interesting? I guess Infinity, they were pretty insane as well. Obviously, getting the highest kills for the match there with 8, and they were right up there when it comes to the damage as well. I feel like they got a few kills early on. They got super confident. They went in for some crazy pushes. They were just looking to try and steamroll a lot of teams, but just unable to get into the later stages after doing so. Unfortunately, just getting caught out on that one.
I think one of those other teams, of course, never mind also ability, but actually lit with their good positioning over in the compound, able to actually gatekeep a lot of those teams before they did come down, able to pick up those 6 kills as well, and pick up a fair amount of damage. But when we look, of course, towards then the next game, which is, of course, going to be back on Erangel, who does well there, and you actually do have to think that some of these teams who were aggressive on Sanhok, who were going for those kills, maybe they now need to rein it a little bit back, because Erangel isn't as fast-paced. Erangel is, of course, bigger than Sanhok, and when it comes to Erangel specifically, it's interesting to see if these teams who do go for those fights, as we say early on, if they can then translate that through onto multiple maps, because as we say, it is early days, it's only one map, and if they can find the success that they've already had on Sanhok, and if they can repeat that through multiple games today and then through the rest of the competition. But never mind also the aggressive side, also looking towards those who aren't so aggressive and who didn't have that good game. You think back to, of course, the likes of Eagle, who got taken out very early on. You think to the likes of DRS, who weren't able to find a good position in that zone, got taken out very early on as well when it came to those rotations in the mid game. And these teams really going to have to find their footing, going to have to find some way to get back in, because 16th, 15th, low positions overall, low points out of that first game, they're starting to feel that they could be slipping out to the bottom of that leaderboard.
Yeah, I guess hopefully they can. I guess the mindset gets pretty tough as well when you do get a rough start to the first match. Hopefully they can pull it back for the second one. Hopefully they do manage to find a spot on the map. Obviously, Erangel is a little bit bigger. They have a little bit more space to work with in those earlier stages. Hopefully they can utilise that to their advantage. But yeah, it's going to be awesome to see how they do handle the Erangel. A lot of these teams
are going to be nice.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of these teams that haven't landed with each other before. So we saw teams that were almost landing on each other before, and yeah, obviously they decided to pull out, so they weren't looking to take the early fights. I think that was probably a smart move by those guys. But yeah.
And nevertheless, so it is up to the next game to see what they can bring as we head over to the break and see if FaZe Clan can find that success they were able to have in game 1, or if they will fall down, and who will be able to rise up to the occasion. As we go to a short break, we'll see you guys on the other side.
Sayang-sayang.
Hostia, niño.
¿Por qué no la ponen aquí? ¿Qué es hambre?
Sto sudando. Sto sudando.
Santai mau pergi di mana tuh? Tahu ini jangan pulang kamar ini. Oh ya, udah.
Batunya kolam renang. Batunya kolam renang dia. Iya. Habis itu baru putar balon. Pas balon sudah Billy itu dia. Oh, tak pas ya, apa itu? Dia tak pas kalau kita mau cari untuk hari-hari. Kalau dia tak pas atau teleponnya, dia kasihnya kalah. Kita angkat. Kalau tidak begitu, kita kan dalam makirin kamari ya. Makirin kamari. Macam bagi-bagi tu, makirin pun tidak ada. Udah motorin. Orang punya yang jual. Kan dia suruh pakai takuran. Mau pas. Soalnya.
Ya.
Soalnya gini yang macet aja kan di pertama tuh. Hari kan 15 toh. 15 di 15. Sudah berapa ya? Marah-marah. Tidak. Preso tutti. Perché non c'è pelo? Hah? Balak ng Pubg.
Kecil. Oh, kayak kita sudah pakai kecil. Kalau pinawagi ko orang pera kita, di masa lagi. Iya. Tahu ah, kalau mau.
Tadi siapa? Kapan? Pakai paket. Nesap motor. Setelah nesap motor itu. Ayo lo. Oh ya Ira.
Awas.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Esports Fight Club Ultimate Warrior Showdown. We've had 2 games at first day down. We've got 2 more games to go. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Pubg Mobile and 10 Cent Games, and to our official broadcasting partners, Hoya and Nemo TV. And as well, as you can see on that link down below, just on the bottom there, it is a beautiful QR code. Go scan it, go click on the link, and go fill out the form, and you can enter in your own giveaway to bring in some beautiful EFC merchandise of your own. But of course, keep in mind it is only available to the Southeast Asian region, so it is going to be the countries of Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, and Cambodia, which are available to enter. If you aren't in one of those countries, I'm afraid you can't be eligible, but if you are, good luck, and hope that you can win some beautiful EFC merchandise. And winning is where actually we look back at the second game, because it was Eagle Esports Seki who took that second chicken dinner. And as you can see here through the results, yes, it was those down below, but Eagles, they were the ones on top, and they were the ones soaring through the rest, even the likes of FaZe Clan, who also had, despite falling down third, an even better result, I would argue, with those 14 kills that we picked up as well.
I guess the real surprise is Infinity on this one. They're in the bottom half at the moment. It's not where I expected them to be.
Right, indeed, Infinity, definitely, as we mentioned, of course, not where they want to be in terms of where we expected them to be, more so, because when we came into today, we were, well, Infinity, they were one of the best teams they looked like coming into the tournament. They were probably one of the favorites to win everything, but for the first 2 games, they've actually really struggled here, and they've not had the games and the positional points that they really were looking for overall. Yes, it picked up a few kills here and there in the first match, but when it comes to that second game, definitely a big step down for them. Wrangle, Sanok, 2 more maps to go for them today. Better hope that they can be able to step themselves up, because they are starting to lose out on their chances, and with all of these high point games going towards the likes of FaZe, going towards the likes of Eagles now as well, and even to an extent there, Stalwart as well, finding a good game once again. Lit Esports finding a good game once again. These teams at the top of that leaderboard, they're starting to edge out quite a sizable lead, and for Infinity, they're now actually 35 points behind the leaders, which are, as we say, FaZe Clan.
That is a massive difference. Same goes for the Giants teams as well. I guess they're probably underfragged a lot more than what I'd expect them to. Coming from such an aggressive region that they're known for their aggression, and they just haven't been able to pull it off as yet.
Yeah, it's been FaZe Clan actually the most aggressive. They've actually, through the first 2 games, already got 20 kill points, 25 placement points. It's been an absolute standout, stellar performance from them as well. The next 2 likes of Eagles also picking up $500 prize money from getting a chicken dinner in the first and whole game. But we actually look towards, I think, teams still rising up a little bit. The likes of TJB, yes, it's let Nick gave way, as we say, to some of these teams like Star Wars, but also we mentioned Bigatron and their rise potentially to the top. They are now sat in currently 4th position overall on that leaderboard, and they are sitting at a comfortable 21 points between those first 2 games, keeping that consistency up through the rest of today's games, even getting better results. Maybe that's a type of consistency that we're looking for through the full 12 matches that brings them into the top of that leaderboard by the end of these 3 days.
Yeah, and I guess Bigatron, they've been relying very heavily on getting the kill points as well. They've been getting reasonably aggressive, and I feel like they normally do sort of get stronger as the tournament does progress. They are very good at adapting, so I think we'll have some good things to come out of those guys.
Indeed, and it's to see if they can actually continue their way through and keep up that consistency. I mean, if it's what you say is true, right? They get better and better through the rest of the tournament. They start to back up these points like base numbers. Oh man, Bigatron are back on top. But when you think towards some of these teams as well, who just haven't been able to pick up those points as required, definitely a big surprise, I think, as well, was, yes, we know Demigod, we kind of wanted if they were able to come up. They've not been able to. But Orange are an even bigger surprise for me now. Orange, I think, yes, I didn't expect them to be at the very tip top of this leaderboard, but not at the bottom of the leaderboard. I mean, only 1 point between 2 games is not what Orange were looking for. 16th position, another low result there. Miramar, they are really, really struggling.
I guess when you're forced to take those early fights and you haven't got that confidence up, it sort of snowballs with going out early in game number 1. You haven't got that confidence going to win the fights as you're going into game number 2. So it does make it very difficult with your mindset. If that makes sense, when you're going into those fights, am I going to be able to actually pull this off or not? And when you've got that doubt, it really doesn't make it difficult to pull off big things.
It does make it difficult indeed. And when you look towards, I think, the consistency and the ability to bounce back for these teams to not fall down that trap, I think that is what we need to look at for the likes of Orange, for the likes of Demigod. Yes, you've had 2 bad games, but put that stuff behind you. Now look forward to a wrangle on this next map coming up and actually say, okay, yes, we've had 2 bad games, but if we reset, can still bring us back. We can still get these points in the bag. We can still find a way to the top of the board. It's not too late just after 2 matches. And I think that is also something that has to be said for a lot of these teams down on the bottom, because there is starting to emerge that big gap in between those teams, especially in the top 3 of FaZe, Lit and Eagle, to when you move down towards the rest of that leaderboard. It does start to dip quite a little bit.
Yeah, obviously the mid-ranges are fairly uniform in sort of the 10 to 20 points and all that kind of stuff. That's what you'd really expect. I guess the unexpected is definitely FaZe with how much of a lead they have already gained. And look, with how they're playing, they've just got that momentum to just keep going and going and going. They've got the confidence up, and that's sort of really half the battle. So yeah, if the teams can reset down, obviously that have had struggles early on. Hopefully they're able to do that. And I think that's what really makes a good player, is the ability to obviously get back up when you've been kicked down.
Indeed, and I think one way to do that could be taking out FaZe early on. Now, FaZe, they have actually been fairly predictable in where they've dropped so far. They dropped initially through onto Boot Camp in Sanok, they dropped over into Picado, and again, another big location on the map. Now, Erangel, where we looked for those big locations, potentially going to be around George Pole, potentially even down to the south of Subnautica Military Island. These big locations on the map, potentially where FaZe do look to go, and FaZe actually, they do tend to be a team that drops around the center of the map and tries to expand out in the early game to look for those kills early on when those teams are still in that looting phase.
Yeah, I guess it was all about timing too, as in they saw the fights happening around them and they basically picked the right time to essentially clean up the scraps of fights that had already been sort of on foot already. So they are really showing the ability to pick their times and pick the opportune time of when to take the fight, and it's definitely paying off. They're leaps and bounds in front of everyone when it comes to kills, and if they can keep those kill points up, that's always going to keep them at the top of the leaderboard.
Yes, indeed, if we can, of course, see them continue on the momentum, but it is, of course, coming up close to time where we do hit around game number 3 and around a wrangle, and for me, looking towards now this 3rd game, I think we mentioned definitely Bigatron team to be able to look at here. Seki is known for being more of a stronger team over on a wrangle compared to the rest of those maps, and yes, you would expect it out of every map from the multi-time world champions, but for Bigatron, this is their chance to really stride up into that top 3. They're sitting on the 4th spot right now. You said it definitely is those kill points they are getting, but not quite those placement points completely. They're not quite finding themselves inside those top 5, those top 4, those top 3 spots when it comes overall to that end game. And it'll be interesting to see if we can see them continue to try rise to that top.
Yeah, well, I guess in game number 1, obviously Sentinel, they had such a tough spot to get out of, so you can really forgive them for, I guess, what happened in game number 1.
The core is over.
Yeah. It was such a tough spot to get out of. It was probably it was a tiny chance that you were going to be able to get out. You had such an open area that you had to push across with so many teams that were focusing on them. So, yeah, when it comes to a wrangle, I think we might be looking pretty good. We'll see how that does fare very soon.
Indeed, and as we obviously, there's a slight delay on the game, but we will jump into it soon. And nevertheless, though, of course, what to keep in mind, the giveaway down there below it will head off as we get into the match. So if you want to scan, if you want to enter into the giveaway, if you are eligible, one of the 7 countries there from Southeast Asia to enter in and win your own EFC merchandise, be sure to do so. But for Seki, we're going into the third match now, definitely expecting the same out of some of these solid teams, definitely expecting some of these teams, as we said, to have moved up overall. I think also the other team that we mentioned going into this game, and I think also a dark horse that still definitely could rise to the top. I would actually argue here Blood Legion. Now, Blood Legion, they did actually have a very good game when it came to the first match. They actually resulted in the 3rd place. They had an overall good position and good kills, but that second game wasn't quite their forte. And going into the 3rd one, Blood Legion, they've already surpassed, I think, expectations from where we expected them to be on the leaderboard. And if they can continue, they start to rise themselves into that top 5. As that play path is going to go down from the south towards the north, be very open once again for these teams to choose exactly where they want to go.
So it looks like we'll see Infinity. They're going to drop early. They're going to drop to Millie Bay. So I guess somewhere that you would consider them being very hot. It doesn't look like they're going to have company. We do have Join Me Yellow as well. They're going to, looks like they're actually going to head out to Novo. So they're going to digress a fair way from that flight path and should be able to loot up uncontested.
FaZe as well, they're going to be dropping over to Georgetown. We expected FaZe potentially to drop over there, look for teams as well. Georgetown often contested, we can see a few of those teams to center around there, but instead they're all going to have to rotate towards that eastern side because that first base zone dips itself over away from the majority of these teams and away from that plane path. And when you look towards that central belt, very contested when it comes to those teams around the Roshawk side, but particularly around those school and apartment area. Now, school and apartment, we know how open it can be and how dangerous it can be. A lot of those teams already surrounding that location, whoever can take advantage of that could actually rack up some big amount of kills early on.
I think we'll see some of the teams obviously grabbing vehicles early on. Because really that's the hottest commodity when it comes to that area. And you can see DRS, Mafia Ninja already getting a run over onto Sharks in from Elite Esports. So we'll get the first blood, I believe, that one, but also a roadkill. So
drive them on over. Pancakes for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, all 3 meals of the day. I'll take that one. But DRS, they take 1 kill. They keep that momentum going. Now, DRS, we saw them before also start to get these kills early on, but they've also been a team that slightly lackluster, I would argue, when it comes to the very late game stages. They've not been quite able to find themselves in the top form of those highest placement points when it comes to the first 2 matches. They actually fell out fairly early when it came around to Sandhawk, going for those kills, going for those wide rotations. So they are a risky team when it comes overall to their playstyle, and I think that's something that I would argue is a lot of the playstyle of these teams. Very high aggression, but also very high risk and reward strategy coming through from them. Maybe it is these more consistent teams like we maybe see out of like Lit, out of Stalwart, who are the ones who overtake them. And maybe the likes of then, these teams like DRS, trying to change and adapt their style. And we mentioned how difficult that can be if you are an aggressive team, maybe not quite as comfortable to sit back, relax, try focus on positioning, and try focus on the macro side of that game.
So we've got, looks like we might be going for a reset, possibly. The information's come through. Oh, hold on, no, never mind. I've actually got that completely wrong. That's why we had the delay. Righto. So it does look like DPKG, they're going to push out of that school sort of area. They're going to head out from Roshawk to the other north. They do spot out some of the XBL players moving around. It doesn't look like they are going to take the fight as yet. But Lid, they're just laying and waiting at the moment. It looks like they are actually very split in their positioning and trying to gather a little bit of information.
I mean, Lit already trying to find that position over in the S9. Lit starting off in the S9 Polyana, I think that actually says
Oke guys, kita akhiri dulu ya. Bye bye.